Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hotel Room Yap with Michaela. I am staying at the very lovely Waldorf Astoria, Orlando, in a robe. I've been staying at a lot of Hilton affiliate hotels. What's up, Hilton? Hey, how you doing? And today I wanted to talk about tipping culture. First of all, 20%, right? I think that is kind of the go-to. If you do tip less than 20%, in my head that means that something either went terribly wrong, they were rude, they very much did not do their job. But 20% is the standard. If you can't afford a 20% tip, I do believe that you shouldn't go out to eat. I know that tipping culture is really crazy in America. So I just wanted to yap about it a little bit, especially since I'm staying in a nicer hotel right now. I get a little nervous / don't really know what the norm is for tipping at a nicer establishment. Okay, so when somebody brings bags to your room, you should tip them, right? But at what scale? What's the line? What is the line between you brought bags to my room, here's a couple bucks, versus you brought, bags to my room at a nicer hotel, here's $10, $5, 15, 20, what? Is there a percentage based off the room? But then again, I feel like bringing bags is kind of straightforward, that service doesn't necessarily change from hotel to hotel. And then, and then room service, usually there's gratuity included, so there's a service charge at a lot of places that I've ordered. You have the food, which is already a little pricier than usual. There's gratuity, and then a service charge and tax. There's 3 different things added on. There's already gratuity, there's already a service charge. So in my head, we're good, right? Right? Because it says the gratuity goes to the person who's delivering the food. Do they think you suck if you only just leave the regular gratuity and you don't make it 25 or 30%? I don't know. I feel like, especially depending on how crazy your order is, usually it's just me. There's not a ton of silverware or condiments or extra things. It's usually just a Cobb salad, a water, and a fork. So the gratuity that's already included in the service charge, that's already included in my head, is that's enough. Is that wrong? Someone tell me if that's wrong, because I don't know. And I mean, of course, I guess the saying goes is you can never give too much. If you're questioning, you should just be more generous. But I'm also what's the norm? Especially because I would rather save the extra cash for when somebody is being super kind, super helpful, goes above and beyond. It's very noticeable that they're going above and beyond. And then I can kind of up the amount I'm giving, and it can be very obvious, yo, you were really helpful and you were really kind, I loved your help, blah 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 blah. The person who cleaned my room yesterday organized the stuff in the bathroom for me. Excuse me, I have lots of frogs in my throat apparently today. I had some skincare stuff and a little jewelry bag and some nail stuff and my brush, and they laid out a little towel and organized it all on there. That was really sweet. So I'm probably gonna put, a 20 on the counter just as a thanks for being great kind of thing. Yeah, and then drivers, it's tough for me too, because sometimes drivers for these conventions that I'm going to help with the bags, and they're being paid, but then sometimes people tip and then sometimes people don't, and it's do you tip them a couple bucks? Do you tip them $5? This is where I'm at. On the other side of that, of course, I'm thinking of the receiving end. I've worked, just making sure that we're all taken care of here. I've worked in the service industry. Anytime I got a larger tip, it was indeed appreciated. But I also recognized when there was a vibe going on, when I was being extra helpful, it was kind of clear when I was going to be getting a little bit more because there was a little bit extra happening. I was never oh, they only tipped me 20%, I was never annoyed or angry at that. And I'm always like a little nervous that somebody's going to be like annoyed that I only tipped, 20%, or yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's silly. It's probably me overthinking. But just curious what everyone thinks. Because also I think that it is silly that we're depending so much on the consumer to, give the service worker like a livable or greater than livable wage. And I do think that takeout delivery is different. If you're picking up something or doing takeout, or food to go, like at a restaurant where it's like, I'm getting a croissant and a coffee, I will tip based off of like the coffee being made, not the entire total, because usually they're just taking a croissant, putting it on a plate and handing it to me. That seems like something that isn't really a service, that's just the job. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. This is why we're yapping about it. Yeah. So I feel the same thing with like takeout or like picking up. I'll do like 10% because they have to put it in the bag. Usually they'll put silverware and like napkins and blah, 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 wrap it all up and have it in all the different to-go things. So usually I do like 10% for takeout or pickup, and then like 20% for, actual service stuff. Yeah. So, and for those of you who are like, oh, I don't tip for a lot of these things, you should for now, because that is how the world usually works. At a hotel specifically, I think I had to learn that because my mom and I did not grow up going to lots of fancy hotels. And I learned that from friends of mine and like their parents. Sometimes I would be able to go on vacation with like other families, and I would watch their parents like tip the bellhop and tip the driver, and I was like, oh, this is like a thing. This is a thing you need to do. Or I guess don't need to do, but like should do. That's what like, if you're staying somewhere and you, I don't know, want to be normal, want to be a part of like the culture or like the right way, I guess, of like going about it and being like a good guest. I don't know. You tip the people who are helping make your stay more enjoyable. So I learned that, but I've still not learned because like things have gotten so much more expensive. I just can't tell what is normal. What's the normal thing for somebody working at a normal hotel versus like a luxury hotel versus like, a resort kind of thing for you to be handed and be like, cool, great. I feel like a 10, like if somebody drops off my bags and is like, I feel like handing them like a $10 bill feels normal and good. Maybe that's wrong. Drivers, I feel like maybe $5, especially because they're usually being paid decently well by a company. Anyway, feel free to yap in the comments, especially if you work in any of these environments. Like, would love to hear your takes, especially like if you're a high maintenance guest, like if you know that everything's really messy, if you know that you have like 7 bags or something, then is it very much like, okay, I better get like $20 for this, or does it not really matter? And like, as long as you're getting something, it's like, cool, they've acknowledged my help and my presence. And then sometimes I feel so bad because I like tuck my cash away like a dummy into like my checked luggage, just because I have like sometimes a 20 on me in my wallet, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like keep some change with me, and then I put it in the checked because I don't want it to just be like in my duffel bag, because I want it to be in like a locked thing, and then like they drop it off and I'm like, cash. Anyway, chaos. So feel free to yap below. If you work in any of these places, if you have any commentary, and maybe let's also just work on, there are some places that do this, but work on creating an economy in a world where like people are just paid a good, healthy living wage with like benefits and healthcare and time off, and not leave tipping up to the consumer. There are some restaurants and some places that do factor that in, and they let you know when you're either paying, like Kazunori Hand Roll, Sugarfish, they are no tipping establishment. There's an 18% like, I don't remember what it's called, but like it's either like a service fee or like worker support fee, something. And so you don't tip extra. There's not even a place for you to add. It's just like, that's what it is. and that's really nice. And then there's a couple hotels I've stayed at where it's like you paid for your stay, and now all of your experiences are included with your stay. Like you were not expected to tip, and they like say it up front, which is very nice because they make it very clear, like, hey, you have already covered everything that you should cover like in your experience here. So like, we pay our workers, part of your payment goes to them, blah 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 blah, is not expected and not needed. If like you feel like you want to because somebody goes above and beyond, go for it, but like we are not expecting the tipping culture here, which I also think is very nice, because then you just aren't constantly being like, oh crap, did I like offend somebody because I didn't give them $10? Like, yeah, and that's the app. Okay, before I let you go, le book. Let us see what it gives us today. Okay. LOL. Will anyone even care? Part of the process of letting go is releasing any thoughts of how you or your piece will be received. When making art, the audience comes last. All right, not really sure how that applies to today's Yap session, but there you go, something to sit with, just to chew on in general. Will anyone even care? Part of the process of letting go is releasing any thoughts of how you or your piece will be received. When making art, the audience comes last. Interesting. And then at the bottom of the page it says, avoid overthinking. Well, that is the opposite of this channel. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of Hotel Room Yap. I'm going to go work out and shower and leave. Leave this beautiful hotel. Thank you, Waldorf Astoria. It has been lovely. All right, see you guys next time. Bye. Whee!